Exclamation, everybody. Welcome back to my Sunday ramblings in Cube World. As always, this is Memory Leak Death. I'm glad to have you on board for a little while. And I am almost picking up from where I left off last time. I started to explore a little bit here. Got a little bit of equipment together off camera. And I'm just going to take on some random things here. My idea is to go off and explore some of these cross-sword, boss areas that are showing up on the map, and that'll be my excuse to go see some of the countryside while I'm here, which is again, I love the art of this game, the style of this game. And actually, it's funny. I used to, the first couple of episodes I did of this, I was sort of, I enjoyed, seeing everything brand new and whatnot, but it got to a point where I was sort of dreading a little bit recording an episode, just because again, it had gotten to a point where I just didn't know what else to talk about, what else to point out in the game, what else to, really say. And ironically, now that I have sort of changed the format of this and it's more free form and I can talk about stuff that's going on off camera here that I am keeping an eye on that I don't necessarily have footage for, or even just some, background, here's how the sausage is made type of stuff. I'm actually not dreading it anymore. It's actually a fun little excursion I can have here. Just sort of as a, while I'm on the subject, as a side note, a programming note, I'm going to try to keep these episodes to a half an hour. I may not, it really depends on how much I have to talk about. But also, I don't want to overstay my welcome a little bit. And I've been trying to really shoot for 30-minute episodes on everything I do. But, because that seems to be the standard that every YouTuber is shooting for now. But I may, depending on what discussion I'm having and what topic I'm on, I may continue longer than that. The last episode was really an hour of me walking around, and then a little bit more than an hour, I think it was. And then I ended up chopping that into two pieces, just to kind of keep it a little bit more manageable. Today I don't have quite as much time, so this will probably end up being just one session this episode. I don't know how long it'll be, but we'll see as the time comes. And I am going to keep everything in, so we get to explore this new biome with me, and you get to see everything I see as I go along here. So it is what is today? Today is Saturday, Saturday night, October 26th. So it's a couple of things have happened since my last recording. My last recording was 2 weeks ago. Again on a Saturday, I believe. So a lot has happened since then. There's also a bunch of topics I haven't talked about that I still have on my list here. I actually have a list together this time around. I should be very proud of me for a change. It will still be my rambling self, though, despite that. So we'll start off with some Cube World news. This came out earlier this week. Kotaku actually managed to get in touch with Wally and get a little bit of an update on Cube World, find out what's going on and what's happening. And he was his normal vague self and rather to the point, but essentially he said, you know, he's continuing work. It is just a side project for him. So, you know, you do what you can when you can. A couple of the bullet points that he mentioned was that he's working on a resizable UI, which will help me out greatly. So we won't have to deal with some overlay issues here. Also, rebindable keys. So the not only will I be able to dodge and roll finally, since I'll be able to map the middle mouse button to something else, but I'll also be able to go back and actually use the portal that I found that I haven't actually shown on camera because there was no point in showing it since I couldn't use it. And it'll be interesting for me to try to actually find it again. It's back in the original biome I was in. So that'd be cool. And also, he mentioned that he's trying to rebalance a few of the classes. Namely, one of the things that I've been complaining a lot about, which is we got what is this, a purple collie? Oh, wow. Take this guy out, see what he's got for us. A giant collie here. Fighting a giant dog. Although, still a bit of a pushover. There we go. We got spirit from him, but it's a very low power level, which is kind of what I expected. So, it's not really going to be that useful. Ooh. And there's a tree, and there's another boss. Well, it looks like we might be able to even take this tree on, huh? Yeah, it's white. Alright. Well, let's do it. We still have to get revenge on that other tree, but I'll take this one in the meantime. Take this boss out. So, what was I saying? Oh yeah, one of the things I've been complaining about, which is the fact that my rogue here doesn't get very good drops. It sounded like, and you know, I might be putting words in his mouth, but it sounded like he was looking at trying to rebalance, or Wally was trying to rebalance some of the loot drops, so I don't have quite as much trouble as I've had actually getting something decent. He said particularly around the earlier levels, so that's good. All good things we're hearing. So, the net positive to that was finally got a little bit better discussion in the Cube World subreddit for a change. It was becoming a bit of a wretched hive of scum and villainy, and it finally turned into something a little bit more decent and presentable. I was often questioning why I continued to subscribe to it, but it was really so that I can get that one nugget of information that occasionally comes out. Just have to deal with everything else that comes along with it. So that's good, all good news, except I'm getting my ass handed to me by a guy that shouldn't be as good as he is. So some more news. I haven't gotten a chance to talk about it yet, but there's a bunch of Kickstarter projects that I've been monitoring and following. And I try whenever possible, and this is true for any indie games, I try whenever possible to get videos of these things. But the thing with Kickstarter is that more often than not, it seems like there are projects out there for, you know, software projects that don't have any kind of demo available, and that makes it extremely difficult for me personally to really look at them and really critique them. because I have nothing really to look at other than some concept art and some video, usually. So whenever I can find a Kickstarter that actually has a demo, I try to play it, and if I like it, I go and try to make a video of it, a side quest video of it. That said, there's plenty of Kickstarter projects out there that I support and I've been given money to that don't have any kind of demo, and I feel like this is a good place for me to sort of talk about them and perhaps even get some traction wherever possible, and some follow-ups for things that I have done videos on. This won't all be, not every episode that I do here will be Kickstarter episodes, but they lend themselves well to discussion more often than not, unless I can do videos on them. So I'll start with just a follow-up of one video that I made a few weeks ago on Citizens of Earth. It was a RPG, modern day RPG game. Well, modern day. What am I saying here? It's an RPG game set in a modern day setting, I should say, where your character is the, vice president of the world, and you sort of, instead of being the guy who actually fights battles, you recruit other NPCs to fight for you. And it's, the Kickstarter, the developer was, said that he got a lot of his inspiration for the game from Earthbound, and it has a lot of the look and feel of Earthbound to it. You can go look at my video for more look at it, more general, more in-depth, I guess, look at it. But sort of an update to that is that Kickstarter did eventually fail. They did not meet their goal. They ended up with $36,875 out of their $100,000 goal. So really, 36.875% of the way there. So they fell very far short, which is kind of sad. It was actually a very interesting game. It's one of those things that I kind of feel bad that I didn't get to see it until I didn't get around to seeing it until very late in its funding effort. However, there is some silver lining to those clouds. They have said in some updates that they are going to continue work anyway on it, which is good because I feel like they perhaps didn't advertise as much as they needed to get the kind of money that they were looking for. So it's nice to see that they're going to continue their work, and it sounds like, this wasn't directly said, but I'm sort of reading between the lines a little bit here. It sounds like they might be doing something with Steam and or Valve. They mentioned that there's going to be some kind of... They sort of thanked Valve for something. I don't know what. I went looking to see if they had some kind of green light. They don't, from what I can tell. So, but they also said that there's going to be some kind of announcement coming up soon about their development. So I'm hoping that means if I'm just going to take a real jump, a real stab in the dark here. And I'm hoping that means that they're going to maybe do some kind of early access thing on Steam. That would be kind of cool. That would also get them the funding that they're looking for to try to complete the game, I suspect. So I hope that that's the case, because I did like what I saw there. There were some improvements, obviously, that they could make, but I think what was there was definitely a cut above most, I should say. So that's good. That they also did mention that they're going to have another stable demo build coming soon as well. So I'll be hopefully getting when that comes out, everybody will be able to get their hands on that. I did not actually continue playing. I don't know how long the build actually the demo that I had actually continued for. I pretty much stopped playing right at the end of that video that I showed. I didn't want to show too much of the story, but at the same time, I didn't want it to start get too grindy and boring, and it actually started to get a little bit grindy there. I did cut out maybe the last 10 minutes of my play session because I was just basically getting killed by those freaking flies. They were relentless. So I don't know how long that actually continued on further, but I haven't actually been back to it. I've been trying to. I have so many games on my plate right now that I'm just looking at and keeping up to date with. So that's cool. That's sort of the update on that guy. Another video that I just did. It's actually just came out today. I just published it. A Kickstarter project called Unsworn. Again, sci-fi theme. It's kind of that is my genre, really. Sci-fi and RPG. And it's both. So, done a good, I did a video on it. All the background stuff, all the storyline and what to go on there. So feel free to go over and take a look at that. That was about 45 minutes, I believe. It ended up being. All told, I think the demo took me about an hour because I had a little trouble with some of the battles there. But they are up to, they have 25 days remaining on their Kickstarter, so I was able to get in early on that, which is good. They were at, a few hours ago, they were at $911. They're trying to raise 60 grand, so they've got a good long distance to go yet, but they still have 25 days, so if you really liked what you saw there, by all means, head on over to Kickstarter and give them, some money and some support, and see where we can go from there. I don't recall seeing that they have any kind of green light going. They may and they may not. I don't recall offhand if they did. I didn't actually write it down if they did, so apologies if they do have that going on. But you can get all the links to that. I will provide links again to their Kickstarter, as well as their website in this video, along with all the other topics I've talked about and will talk about. So, what else we got here? Another Kickstarter project that I'm looking at, and this one has gotten more publicity, particularly from the major gaming sites, like Rock Paper Shotgun and whatnot. This one's called The Mandate. It's yet another sci-fi RPG. We're getting a ton of them now, which I'm not unhappy about. I'm more ecstatic about than anything else, because those are the types of things that get me hot and bothered. It's another sci-fi RPG. This one, I mean, you talk about ambitious here. This one really sounds ambitious, but also sounds incredible if they can pull it off. It's going to be a mixture of, so it's going to be in the style of Klingon Academy, Freelancer, and Star Trek Online. This is their words from the Kickstarter page. This is their inspiration. And that's for the that is for the external space battles. Is that's their inspiration for that. But there's a whole other aspect to the game that they're looking at, and it's going to be more of a boarding mechanic where you can actually go and board, I guess, other ships, other stations. And that's going to take a real-time strategy approach, sort of, with an isometric top-down view, where you'll be a little bit more tactical in your actual action, your boarding action. So it's sort of blending a little bit of the two genres there, and blending of the mechanics. So it sounds incredibly ambitious just from that perspective. But on top of that, it gets better, and there's more. On top of that, there's going to be, they're promising a huge history, a huge lore, body of lore to go along with it. They've said that they've written about 1,500 years of backstory for the game, which is incredible in and of itself. And on top of that, on top of all that, they're trying to emphasize your crew and your interactions with your crew, which is a big thing for, RPGs. I think it's kind of the thing you kind of miss a little bit with some RPGs. I guess the best example I can say of RPG that really focused on your crew a lot more was the Knights of the Old Republic games. Which one did I play? I played 2. Played KOTOR 2. I did not play 1. In fact, I don't think I even finished KOTOR 2, to be honest with you. It's one of those I get this thing where I play an RPG and I'll put, I have to be something of a completionist, not a total completionist, but I do all these side quests and everything. And I end up putting like 80 hours into it, and then I get to a certain point, I'm very far along, very advanced, and then I just sort of give up on it. I don't know why. I just lose interest for some reason after putting all that effort into it. You would think I would complete it, but no, I just end up losing interest for whatever reason. So I have a lot of RPGs that I've put a ton of hours into, and I can't tell you how they end it. Neverwinter Nights is another one. Neverwinter Nights 1 and 2. I think 1 I got maybe 80% of the way through, and I just gave up on it. 2 I got all the way up to the point where you got to take over a keep, and you could start to build it up, and which was the whole appeal to the game for me in the first place. And I got to that point, and then I just got tired of the game and never went any further. Which is crazy, I know. It even gets to the point where so I finished the very first Mass Effect game I finished. But Mass Effect 2, I got all the way to the last set of missions. I know that I'm at the last set of missions because I looked at spoilers, which doesn't bother me at all. I tend to do that even with everything. I look to see how something ends before I bother with putting the effort into starting it. But I got all the way to the last, right before the last set of missions, right before you go through that last Mass Effect gate. And I ended up stopping, not because I lost interest with it, but because I knew that I needed to finish all the loyalty missions for my players, for my NPCs, in order to not lose them in the last bit. And I ran out of... What you had to do is you had to do one mission with them. You had to take them on one mission, and then they would and then you talk to them, and then they would give you their loyalty mission that you had to take them on. Well, I got almost everyone done except for, I think, 2 characters. And I ran out of missions. Like, you have to run one mission with them that isn't their loyalty mission, and then they give you the loyalty mission after that. And I ran out of missions. I ran out of side quests, I mean. So I put it on hold, and I waited. I was going to wait for the DLC to come down and then just pick it back up, and then there would be enough content in the DLC that I could get all the loyalty missions done. Well, long story short, or short story long, I never went back to it. Never downloaded the DLC, never bought the DLC, just never went back to it. So I know how it ends, but I because I watched videos of it, but I've never actually finished the game myself. Got all the way to the end and just never continued. So wow, that was a nice long tangent there, wasn't it? Getting back to the mandate here. I like their emphasis on the crew. I like that's sort of what reminded me of Mass Effect and all that stuff. I like that emphasis there. That's really where you want your story to take place, rather than it being. That's sort of the thing that the Mass Effect franchise ended up doing wrong, I think, is that they did put a little bit of emphasis on your crew, but not a lot. Like, in the first Mass Effect, I think they did it really well. But in the second one, yeah, all the characters were sort of throwaway. You didn't really care. I mean, I wanted to get through the game with all of them, but did I really care if I made it through the game with all of them? Not really. They were kind of throwaway. And I've never played 3, but from what I saw, it doesn't look like that was any better either. And that kind of it's a bummer, right? Because what you have to do then is the story then becomes not so much an interpersonal one where you're trying to keep your crew alive and keep them thriving and have the world kind of spawn around them. Now it's a one-upmanship, right? You see that in the Mass Effect story, right? The first story was a very personal story. You just went after, one boss, and it was kind of setting the stage, right? But then they had to, because they de-emphasized the characters that you played with, the NPCs that you interacted with, in my opinion, then they had to focus their story on these overarching universe-destroying things, and they had to keep one-upping themselves in that regard, right? It's like Mass Effect 2, it's like, the commander conquers death, and then Mass Effect 3 is the commander conquers all. It's just, you get to a point where it's just silly after a while. You know what I mean? Whereas if you focus more on interpersonal stuff, it feels a little bit more real, in my opinion, and you don't have to one-up yourself constantly. The story can just evolve naturally. So yeah, that's my take on that. That was my tangent on why I like the fact that they've emphasized the crew here, or that they're saying that they're going to emphasize the crew and the mandate. The story, as far as the mandate goes, sounds very interesting. It's kind of, there's some cookie cutter stuff in there, but it's it does, if they're putting as much backstory into it as they say, it sounds like it could be a very rich world. The general take on the story is that, Earth is abandoned. Go figure, that seems to be the flavor of the month. And we've, humans have expanded out and colonized hundreds of worlds in the galaxy. From that, those colonies basically united themselves under what's called an imperial mandate, which is basically an emperor. And each of those worlds is linked by these FTL gates. These are sort of the choke points of the um, world. You know, the thing that binds everybody together. Now, that comes into play a little bit later in their history, but essentially what happens is the Imperial Mandate became very corrupt on the inside, and it caused some of the outer colonies to start to rebel against that corruption. And then that rebellion gained a bunch of fuel with the sudden death of the emperor, and the fact that this emperor was succeeded by an empress that was very inadequate, I guess, was seen as very inadequate in her abilities. So this rebellion started to take hold and started to expand, and she sent the emperor sent sent out this grand fleet of Imperial Mandate soldiers to try to put down the rebellion. Unfortunately for her, there was some saboteurs that managed to sabotage these FTL gates and ended up sending this fleet to scattering it across the galaxy and leaving the whole empire vulnerable to attack. So in the midst of all this, you're apparently, as far as the story goes, you are taking on the role of a Corsair, which is a newly formed group that this Empress has formed from basically disgraced Imperial Mandate officers, guys that they just threw in jail because they, didn't live up to or didn't quite follow the standard marching orders that they were required to do. And as part of this, they basically, these people, these former officers who were put in jail, were basically paroled and said, look, if you can redeem yourself in our eyes by going after these rebels, restoring order to the galaxy, and possibly even finding out what the hell happened to our fleet. And that is the story of that game, and that's I'm excited for it. I'm hoping that it continues to get the publicity that it's had. It is, again, very ambitious. In fact, the Kickstarter goal itself, that they put the Kickstarter up for 60 days, which is probably extremely necessary because they're trying to raise $500,000. And so far, from what I saw today, a couple hours ago when I pulled this number off here, they were at $171,003. So they're making some progress, but they got a ways to go, and they've got 36 days left. So if all that rambling that I just did about the story and the type of game it is interests you, feel free, go over to Kickstarter and give them some love, and hopefully we'll get ourselves a kick-ass sci-fi RPG, ambitiously approaching our PCs at some point in the future. All right. So I basically went through that entire fortress there and knocked that guy out. This bow that I have, this crossbow I have, is just terrific. It's a totally different game here now. And I'm leveling up pretty good, so I'm feeling good about this. Feeling good. So I'm going to make my way back to, since it's getting dark here, I'm going to make my way back to the city. As I do so, I'll talk about another game that I've been following that now has a Kickstarter, and I've been following them for quite a while here, on IndieDB, and they've had a successful Kickstarter. In fact, I think they hit their goal very early on. There's only 4 days left. They've already hit their goal. Their goal was $40,000. They're at $47,792. They have some stretch goals coming up. So the game is called Pulsar Lost Colony. It is a, how best can I describe it? It is a combination of Star Trek Bridge Commander. Let's put it this way: it's Star Trek Bridge Commander as a co-op, essentially. So it's a combination of that and what was the name of that one? Artemis Starship Simulator. It's a combination of both of those. It's Artemis Starship Simulator with a consistent UI. Not a detached UI like it has now. It has just a consistent world and a UI and a story. And Star Trek Bridge Commander, basically, with a co-op. So you can have up to 5 players co-oping with you. 5 different classes: engineer, captain, science officer, weapons officer, and was that 5 or was there one more? There's one more, I think. I don't remember it offhand. And it also has it has a roguelike element to it as well. Your crew can experience permadeath. So it's got that as well. The stretch goal for it is the next one is at 50 grand, and that's to get an extended soundtrack. There's, again, as I said earlier, 4 days left on their Kickstarter. So if you want to maybe go over and try to get them to their next stretch goal, get some more sound going. They have a couple samples actually up there of some of the music that's going to be in the game. And one of the things that I really appreciate about these the devs on the Pulsar Lost Colony team is that they are very, very active as far as giving updates. It's one of the reasons why I've been following them so closely on IndieDB is that pretty much every week they have a developer video going up where they're just doing an update video. Just a short video saying, hey, look, this is what we're working on. Here's something of what we're doing. The kind of thing that you would really hope every indie dev would do, because it's something you don't get a whole lot of. And to give them even more props for it, their dev blogs are they're even more awkward sounding than me. So the fact that they can be awkward and still continually put out videos, they get an extra attaboy for me for that, because there are a lot of devs that would do one video like that and then just say no, I can't, it's too embarrassing, I can't do it anymore. But to continue to do it is despite that, because you really want your backers and your supporters to see what you're working on. I applaud them greatly for that. I really appreciate that, and I really like that they do that. So I hope that they inspire even more indie devs to follow in those footsteps as far as keeping people updated and just going with the flow, just doing what you got to do. Just a short little video, nothing big. You can be as awkward as you want to be, as long as you're getting that message out there. So it's great. I'm glad that their Kickstarter was successful, and I hope that they continue to live long and prosper, if you will. All right. So we've accomplished quite a bit here. I've actually gone through my short list of topics. And I think we're getting close to the city here. Well, I'll stick with you until we get there. So while we make our way there, it actually looks like I'm almost there now. Yep, here we go. I can see the sunflowers here. So I guess I don't need to come up with another topic because I have made it. So we've wrecked some faces today, made some progress, leveled up a couple times. I'll have to look at my skills a little bit later. I'm not going to really deal with them right now. I just want to reset the time, and because I gotta get my rear in gear here, so I can't really record much longer. But anyway, thank you everybody for watching. As always, all the links will be in the description of everything I've talked about. Feel free to go off and take a look at everything. And I'm really enjoying. I'm actually enjoying this format more than I thought I would. So I'm going to continue. And thanks for watching, everybody. And I will see you next week.